Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is my first video in a while, so someone made someone made a response to me, a Cold War liberal called Nightmare Fuel, also known as Reese. The main theme of the video is basically addressing a common criticism of him, and he dubbed this as the utopian fallacy. That's really something. So, I'm just gonna examine this and just gonna try to I'm just gonna criticize the mess out of it. So yeah.
I wanted to very quickly address a common theme in those clips I just played. As stated, Voltaire Bastiat is a fan of the academic agent, and I think that has a lot to do with why he parrots several of his talking points. I have received this criticism from the academic agent, and I've also received it from some other people. When it comes to my views on religion and anti-theism, I have been accused of being an idealist and a utopian. Now, I don't think that these labels are necessarily a bad thing. Certainly in not all cases. But even so, I think they're a little misdirected at me. I would like to take the chance to explain how I actually feel about the topic, rather than you hearing it from other people who don't exactly have it in their best interest to fairly represent my point of view. Now, I oppose religious ideas as a rule. This applies across the board because religions are founded upon blind faith and dogmatism. They are not founded in reality. They don't have the authority of the creator of the universe behind them at all. And I think that's a more than justified reason to have qualms with these ideologies.
All that is fine. I honestly really don't care if you oppose these religions, these ideologies. I find that perfectly reasonable, but you have to realize, Reese, that religion, like it or not, have contributed a positive sum gain for humanity. It gave birth to classical liberalism. John Locke himself was a rather, I think he was a deist or a Christian deist. I'm not really sure. Gave birth to classical liberalism and also contributed to a lot to the natural sciences as well. To just, I think your problem is you just sort of have to deny this positive sum gain that religion has, this more positive trade-off that religion has. But hey, everybody got their own narrative to write and tell to everybody, so people can believe them and follow them. That's with every ideology, including libertarianism, democracy, fascism. Hmm.
Religious belief is something that I would prefer if it did not exist in the world at all. That is my preference. I have that preference for several other social attitudes. If people are really nitpicking, I suppose they could call that idealist. I have never once suggested, however, that I think religion's going to disappear. Ever. Not even just in my lifetime. I don't think religion will ever go away completely. Religion has been present as long as there have been people. And that's not to excuse it or say it's a positive thing that we must accept. That simply means that it's a perpetual detriment.
Again, why? Why, man? A, a detriment to humanity progress? You ever heard that the study human institutions find most tolerable imperfections? You ever heard of that? That's the same thing with every institution. We gotta find the best trade-off that we can get, you know? And like, if you, I don't really care that you prefer they don't exist. I agree with you. Religion is never gonna be, will never, as long man is flawed and ultimately want to find the easy answers in life, religion will always going to exist. And this is coming from a Christian. So, but But to address that, what you said is reasonable, I guess. But you have to realize you said you're a realist, right? Study this institution, find some study this institution, then just calling out, then just debunking a creationist somewhere in the Midwest. Come on, man. You can do better than that.
That's also not to say that things are set in stone and can't get better. In the modern West, we have seen a significant decline in the power of religion in society. This has made societies more open, more tolerant, more scientifically minded. It's also contributing to a normalization of atheism. People deconverting from religious faiths in record numbers, or people coming out of the atheist closet who didn't feel comfortable doing so before. Again, these are marked improvements in the world. And I think that's proof that you can make positive change fighting back against this cultural trend. I don't expect it to be easy, and I think that should be abundantly clear based on how little progress I've made, even with other atheists, trying to convince them that irrationality and blind faith are not good building blocks for society. We can't even get past that hurdle. There's a lot of fear-mongering that if we remove religion, another dogmatic ideology is going to take its place, which is not even necessarily the case in all people. Nor are the ideologies in question as dogmatic as organized religion, or as soaked with blood, quite frankly.
Soaking blood, soaking blood as religion. I'm not going to go into the history of all that because other people are going to take care of that. Nazism, Nazism was a secular ideology that killed about 11 million people. Communism, which people still have sympathies for, had killed about 50 million people in this world. And you telling me that no dogmatic ideology is gonna come out of this void? No one. Socialism is still ideology that people still cling to despite the history of failure that only an intellectual can ignore. Come on, man. You can't just blame all the world plot. Well, yes, you can. Okay, maybe not. But seriously though, you can't just dismiss that because that's a real serious problem if you're really into the more sociological aspects of religion or societal institutions. I'm not even arguing. I'm just saying that be careful what you said here because people are always going to have sympathies to blood-soaked ideologies such as Marxism, communism, socialism, Nazism. Just be careful with your wording there, man. You gotta break that.
I am more than willing to address each dogmatic ideology as it comes. This is not a good argument for maintaining a traditionalist, theocratic worldview, however. This is a red herring and a total slippery slope fallacy. And people will say this to me as if I haven't already commented on these ideologies at length. It's a really sad state of affairs where I feel like my critics don't actually know anything about me. They haven't bothered to look into how I feel about X, Y, or Z.
Dude, that's kind of your fault because you kind of hold a very condescending attitude that people who are one of your critics. That's your fault. So, and you don't make yourself clear. You decided to just, that's kind of your fault, dude. Not the fault of your critics, but your own fault. So just don't blame the critics, man. Also, your attitude on many things are rather really condescending, though.
They make really easy to avoid assumptions. Oh, he's an atheist, so he must, be a leftist, and he must agree with all of this leftist stuff that happens. I am not hard to find. If you have a question, if you actually have some intellectual curiosity, and you come at me with a level of respect, I will gladly tell you how I feel about a certain topic. You don't need to pretend to know. You don't need to play a guessing game. I am here. I am a real human being with views and opinions that I would like to see get represented correctly. I see nothing wrong with having an ideal for the world, even if it's utopian. I don't expect it to happen, but I think we should do our best to work towards that kind of world.
My final thoughts on this video. This video was is ultimately pretty much a non sequitur. This video is pretty much a non sequitur or pretty much non-argument in my opinion. Because he doesn't really address so much anything, he just made his positions clear, and he just addressed this as a utopian fallacy. The problem with utopian ideologies, they always come with a social cause, always come with something, you know? Like such as Marxism. Marxism is a utopian ideology, yet killed God know how many people due to the centralizing and despotic nature that comes with it. I agree with Nightmare Fuel. There's nothing wrong having an ideal about the world, but then again, we got to be weary about these other ideologies and try to shun them, destroy them as much as you can in the battlegrounds, in the battlefield. This ideas is not a marketplace; it's a battlefield, and you gotta fight them as much as you can. As I said before, he doesn't really address much of anything. He just made himself clear, I guess. The utopian fallacy is not much of a fallacy. It's not a slippery slope fallacy it's not a slippery slope fallacy because we can look back in history. We can determine what flaws there are. You know. I guess those are my 2 cents on this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you like my comments on each of his points, whatever. Also, that religion in itself is a really positive ideology. Well, I'm using a different definition of positive, but it makes positive claims. No, that's comment. But I hope you have a good weekend, and I hope you have a good night wherever. As this time is recording is like 11:30. So so good night.